Part 3. Anjinketsu Josho. Why the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu is the verbal embodiment of faith. If there is someone who says Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, but fails to attain birth in the Pure Land, it is, according to Tanluan, because his saying of the name does not conform to the import of the name. To conform to the import of the name means to say the name with a belief that we shall be born in the Pure Land by the virtue and power of Amida Buddha. Full understanding of the import of the six-syllable name, Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, is called having the threefold faith. This is because the saying of the name is the verbal embodiment of faith. Therefore, the saying of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, while being mindful that Amida's virtue is thoroughly consummated in me, constitutes the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu recitation with the threefold faith. Those who recite the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu with self-power keep Amida separate from themselves, and conceive of him as dwelling in the Western Pure Land. Being unenlightened, ordinary beings, such people only occasionally think of Amida's other power, and say the name, thereby holding themselves aloof from Amida. When a trace of Bodhi mind appears in them, they imagine Pure Land birth is within easy reach, but when they do not feel like reciting the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, and the Bodhi mind fades, they feel quite uncertain about their birth in the Pure Land. The impulse to seek enlightenment rarely arises in the minds of ordinary people, and so, it is natural that they should remain in their unsettled plight regarding their birth in the Pure Land. They want their birth there confirmed, and wonder if, by chance, it will just happen. But the issue will never be certain until they die. Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu is sometimes on their tongues, but they can hardly be assured of their birth in the Pure Land. We might say, it is like those people who visit somebody only when necessity arises, or, like those who attend court services. They wonder how they can do what Amida wishes, and they seek his favor by flattery in order to be born in his Pure Land. By so doing, they separate themselves from Amida. Their self-made faith, holding Amida's great compassion at a distance. In this condition, they are completely uncertain of their birth in the Pure Land. The Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu meditation, Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, is the realization that the great compassionate enlightenment of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, in which we, the saved, and Amida, the saving power, are united. Since it is Amida himself who has completed all our vows and practices, the putting of hands together in reverence, the saying of the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu with the mouth, the believing in Amida with the mind, everything is accomplished by other power. Hence, showing that in the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu meditation, the saved and the saving power are united. The Meditation Sutra says, in the section on the 8th meditation, all the Buddhas and Tathagatas have a Dharma realm body, and so, Amida Buddha enters the minds of all sentient beings. Shantao explains this passage as follows. The Dharma realm is the world which is to be enlightened, in other words, the world of sentient beings. He does not specifically say, sentient beings who practice meditation, or sentient beings who have Bodhi mind, but states that sentient beings of the Dharma realm are to be enlightened by Amida. Hence, it is said, the Dharma realm is the world which is to be enlightened. In other words, the world of sentient beings, he precisely explains. Since Amida's mind reaches there, his body also reaches there. The virtue of Amida's body and mind fills the minds and bodies of all beings. Hence, the Meditation Sutra says, Amida enters the minds of all sentient beings. He who believes this, is called one who practices the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu. Again, in explaining the meditation on the true body, Shantou says that the threefold action of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu followers and Amida's action are not separate from each other. Since Amida's enlightenment is dependent upon the birth of all beings in the Pure Land, and the birth of all beings in the Pure Land is realized through Amida's enlightenment, their threefold action and Amida's are completely one and the same. Those who have learned and understood that there is no birth in the Pure Land for us sentient beings apart from Amida's enlightenment, and that our vow and practice have been accomplished for us by Amida himself, are called those who practice the Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu. And the verbal expression of this faith of theirs is Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu. And so, however hard the true Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu follower may try to get away from Amida, he cannot separate himself from Amida by so much as the shadow of a thought. Because Amida has accomplished the enlightenment of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, in which he and all beings are united. The ignorant, most inferior beings of the lowest grade, who say Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, even though they lack mindfulness, can be born in the Pure Land, not by virtue of their saying Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, but because their saying it simply reveals their already achieved birth, the birth made especially attainable for the most wicked. Even those who can hardly hear the name, the three treasures, after the destruction of the three treasures mentioned in the larger sutra, will be born in the Pure Land by just saying Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu once. In this case, it is not the saying of it that brings about their birth there, but the latent working of the vow and practice consummated by Amida that comes to the surface in them with that single saying of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, and thus their birth in the Pure Land, the event of culminating importance in life, is assured. If we understand this, we see that our birth in the Pure Land, having been settled here and now, is not attributable to our own good sense in saying Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu and having faith in other power. Our saying of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu reveals the consummation for and in us of the virtue which Amida achieved at the moment of enlightenment 10 long eons ago, after having labored assiduously for an incalculably prolonged period of time. In our saying of Na-mu-a-mi-da-butsu, we are mindful of this fact, and in our performance of religious practices, we worship and revere Amida to express our joy and gratitude. Thus, Amida's perfect enlightenment and our performance of religious practices are one and inseparable. To call this a close relationship is not enough. Any proximity is too distant. We should know that within this oneness, we make a distinction between the one who thinks and that which is thought. Here ends Part 3. Stay tuned for Part 4. Accepting the great faith of the other power.